very much. Okay, we'll have time for a few questions. I see Jurek and I see Michel. Let's start with Jurek and then Michel will come to you.
Jurek Kuczkiewicz pour le Journal de Soir. I'm here, Mr. Raab. Hello. A question in French, if I may. On entend bien...
Of course you can speak French. We understand that the atmosphere, the mood, the will is good and great, and you're saying with some emphasis that the partnership you're building in the future will be never seen, unprecedented, a whole new kind of partnership. So we can see the will. But on the withdrawal agreement, you repeated what we're hearing, that is that on geographical indications and on the Ireland backstop, there's still work to be done. So my question is, can you give us any elements that show that there's been progress this week or last week? Or are you still basically at the same point on these last big obstacles and chapters of the withdrawal agreement? Well, there's no sort of overemphasis or emphasis. I was simply saying, and these are words I used yesterday or the day before in Berlin, unprecedented partnership is simply the truth. When you look at the relationship that we've created over 20, 30 years with various third countries, we see that what the European Union, what the heads of state and government are proposing in the March guidelines, if we achieve that, then you really do have a partnership with no precedent. This is a very ambitious free trade agreement, specific agreements in all sorts of areas of common interest, aviation, transport, universities, research, and what have you. All I said about the progress that we're making, if you take the time to look at the detail of what I said earlier on internal security, on the protection of citizens, on external security, we are fleshing out what will be the declaration of the EU and of the UK on the scope of the future declaration of the future relationship. And there's no other example. It's unprecedented. It's such a partnership with a third country. But the preliminaries to that is that we have to organise an orderly withdrawal of the UK, because that's the condition for an unprecedented partnership in the future. And there again, and we're trying to weigh our words, you can see that week after week and step by step, we are eliminating subjects, bones of contention. If you look at what I said today on the question of data, for example, the exchange of data, we have made progress. On Euratom, we have made progress. Of course, the focus narrows down, doesn't it, on the things which are still there, the outstanding issues, and the outstanding issues are geographical indications, which are important for the 27, but for many, many producers in the UK, there's also issues of governance and the role of the Court of Justice, and of course the question of Ireland, which is, as I've said, a crucial point for us to reach an agreement. But we're working, and we're going through the detailed work. We want to look at the controls, the checks. We need that data, that information, to understand how a backstop is going to work. Who, when, where, and how those controls, those checks are done. It's technical work. It's technical work. It's the minutiae. It takes time and it takes precision in that work.
Secretary of State, would you like to?
Well, I think we've listed, both of us, we've itemised the progress that we had this week on the withdrawal agreement, which I think was your specific question, data protection, governance and dispute resolution, the link between the withdrawal agreement and the future relationship, administrative and judicial procedures. Michel mentioned some others. On geographic indicators, we do understand the importance for many European countries of resolving this. We understand it's obviously an issue for us. And of course, we empathise particularly on this issue because we're very keen to make sure we resolve the broader trading relationship. So we do understand the importance attached, and we attach importance to resolving it as well.
Next question goes to Michel.
Michel Clifford, Sky News. Mr Raab, this week you talked about creep in the negotiations. Simple question for you both. After your talks today, do you think it's more or less likely a deal will be reached by October? Perhaps you could give me odds. And Mr Barnier, specifically to you, even if progress is made in the next few weeks, how concerned is the EU side that that will be scuppered at the Tory party conference at the end of September?
Well, shall I go first on, look, I'm as confident, if not more confident, that we can reach a deal in the way I described. I think with the goodwill, the ambition, the pragmatism on both sides, there's a real opportunity here to grasp. On timing, we're aiming for the October Council. There is a measure of leeway, but that's what we're aiming for.
No odds?
I'm a negotiator, not a gambling man.
Madame, quelquefois quand on me dit...
Sometimes when people ask me, are you optimistic? Dominic said he was optimistic. Or are you pessimistic? Sometimes I get asked these questions. Sometimes there are reasons to be optimistic and pessimistic. Depends on exactly what moment it is. But if you ask that question to one of the founding fathers of the European Union, Jean Monnet, he used to answer this question, are you optimistic or pessimistic? He'd say, neither. I'm determined. And I'm determined. And I said this from the word go. We're going to find an agreement for an orderly withdrawal, which is much better than the opposite. And Dominic and I think it's possible to reach that agreement in October. It's not a lot of time, but no one's talking about a few days here or there. But that's our objective, and we're working towards it.
Time to go for a handshake. There's one more question, yes.
Catherine Fior, EU reporter. Secretary of State, you've said that you're looking for a solution that's workable for both communities in Northern Ireland. I appreciate that you've got very close links with the UP through your supply and confidence agreement. But can you say if you've met with the representatives of the nationalist community, and I'm thinking maybe of Michel O'Neill here, I mean, when have you met with her, and have you just, what are the nationalist community telling you in Northern Ireland?
Well, we obviously engaged, as we have been along the process, as well before my appointment, with all elements of the community, both myself, but also through other ministers and at official level. My door is always open to talk to anyone, and not just in relation to Northern Ireland, but in the devolved administrations in the UK more generally. So we want to make sure we carry as many people with us as possible. There are strong views on Brexit, but we need some unity of purpose.
One last one. Je n'ai pas dit un petit mot, Madame, de...
I didn't say anything about your last point, did I? I'm not going to comment on the internal political life of the United Kingdom, conferences of this party or that party. You know, we're negotiating with Theresa May's government, with Dominic Raab and his team, and they're the ones round the negotiating table.
What do you think is the chance of an extraordinary summit in November? And also, is there a date? Extraordinary. What is the chance of an extraordinary summit, Brexit summit in November? And also, is there a cut-off date? If before that you don't reach an agreement, you will start working on a no-deal Brexit. Thank you.
No. D'abord, nous travaillons.
We're working. I'm working for a deal. And again, it's very complicated. We're building a treaty. When you think about it, that is a legal document. It has to be precise, robust, solid, give all the guarantees to everyone concerned, all the stakeholders. I'm working for a deal. You were talking about the chance or the need for an extraordinary summit. At the moment, we're working on the basis of a certain objective, which is October. But no one's talking about a few weeks. I've always said that to you. It's not about a few days or weeks. If we need a little bit more time, then we have that flexibility. The only thing I have already said here, I think it's also true on the UK side, is that if you take account of the date chosen by the United Kingdom to leave, that's the 29th of March, which is in UK law, and you simply count backwards the time that you need for ratification, about 3 months here or there, on each side, then it takes you to November at the latest. It's as simple as that. So for this stage of the long negotiation, and there are other stages, because after this first stage and the ratification, there will be one or more parallel discussions and one or more parallel negotiations on the future relationship during the implementing phase, the transition period. Our objective, therefore, is to complete by November, before November.
There's a measure of flexibility, but we're aiming for the October Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues.
Oui. This side.